Bangladesh votes. The verdict slams down. Bangladesh Nationalist Party did not just win, it dominated. Two-thirds majority, 200 plus seats as counting closes, a landslide in the 2026 general election. Tarique Rahman stands at the gates of power after 17 years in exile. He promises unity, he promises safety, he promises a new Bangladesh. But beneath the national sweep, Jamaat-e-Islami digs deep along India's border belts. Satkhira flips, Rangpur tightens, Sherpur shifts. Jamaat concedes defeat nationally, yet questions result integrity. Minorities hold their breath. Delhi recalculates. South Asia tilts. BNP commands parliament. Jamaat commands pockets of geography that matter. We at India Today Global argue, does this mandate stabilize Bangladesh or redraw the security map for India? And what does this election mean for minorities in Bangladesh? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. The 13th general election closes a cycle that began with the 2024 uprising that toppled Sheikh Hasina. Political wounds remain raw. Over 1,400 killed during the July revolution. Institutions fractured. The Awami League banned from contesting. Into that vacuum steps the BNP under Tarique Rahman. The numbers tell the first story. BNP and allies cross the two-thirds mark with over 200 seats. Jamaat collects roughly 70 plus seats. Jamaat publicly concedes defeat but posts sharp objections, alleging inconsistencies, suspicious losses, reluctance by authorities to publish turnout figures, and administrative leanings toward a major party. It urges patience, it signals struggle, it keeps its base alert. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls Prime Minister-elect Tarique Rahman after the landslide. Diplomatic lines open fast. The United States Embassy congratulates BNP on a historic victory. Momentum belongs to the BNP, but momentum does not erase geography. Look at the map. Jamaat does not merely win seats, it consolidates in India-facing districts. Satkhira hugging West Bengal, Sherpur near Meghalaya's frontier, Nagaon bordering West Bengal, Joypurhat, Rangpur constituencies in the northern belt, Gaibandha tied into the wider India-facing security grid. Bangladesh and India share a 4,096-kilometer border, riverine, porous, fenced in parts, unfenced in others. Rivers shift course, villages straddle invisible lines, kinship networks stretch across. Border politics matter because district-level enforcement shapes frontier reality. Now break this down. Nationally, BNP rules. Locally, Jamaat influences sensitive belts. That duality defines the next chapter. What does Tarique Rahman say? He invokes Martin Luther King Jr. He mirrors "I have a dream" with "I have a plan." He outlines 3 pillars in interviews: rule of law, financial discipline, unity. He promises a safe Bangladesh for Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, and Christians alike. He declares that every woman, man, child must leave home safely and return safely. He distances himself from radical forces. He references 1971 and warns against those who sided against independence. He stops short of directly condemning specific anti-Hindu arson incidents. Delhi hears 2 notes: reassurance and bargaining. Reassurance because Tarique signals inclusivity and rejects overt Islamist capture. Bargaining because he questions past treaty imbalances with India and seeks a moral, equal, respectful footing. What about Jamaat? Jamaat rebrands. It speaks of justice, anti-corruption, discrimination-free governance. It fields its first Hindu candidate. It moderates Sharia rhetoric in campaign speeches, yet history shadows the party. In 1971, it opposed Bangladesh's independence and aligned with West Pakistan. Post-independence bans, tribunal prosecutions under Hasina, executions of senior leaders, registration cancelled in 2013, ban lifted in 2025. Supreme Court reinstatement. Political isolation ended after the July uprising. Jamaat re-enters formal politics. It demands a referendum on the July National Charter, a reform framework born from the revolution.
The Jamaat-e-Islami was the real power behind the throne for the last 18 months. They're the ones who've been exerting power. Mohammed Yunus has just been their spokesperson. And Jamaat-e-Islami had really worked hard to consolidate their own vote bank. They all knew that they've never got a vote of more than 12% or so in any election. Normally it's been less than 10%. In one election they got 12.2%. And so that is why they had put together this coalition. They decided not to have a coalition with BNP this time, only the Islamist party. That itself was a very strange factor right in the very beginning. And also we saw that the Islamist parties were the only ones represented in the government. You know, in the chief advisors, ministers who are called advisors, they were there. You know, the Islami Andolan Bangladesh was there, Hizb ut-Tahrir was there, and so many others were there. So it was really a matter of concern to the people, I think, because the caretaker government is supposed to be, non-political. It's supposed to have only experts and advisors who are not members of political parties. So this was, I think, the first thing that aroused a little bit of concern. And then over the months, the Islamist parties like Islami Andolan Bangladesh is very much in favor of Sharia law, and Sharia law was part of the original manifesto of the Jamaat-e-Islami. But later on, Jamaat-e-Islami withdrew that, I think under pressure from America. And then later on, we also know that the Washington Post carried an article which clearly indicated that America is supporting Jamaat-e-Islami. So they thought that, the youngsters, the younger generation will perhaps be attracted to vote for them. But I think the Islamism of what Jamaat has been doing, that has really put off the people of Bangladesh. And, Jamaat-e-Islami recently made a very strong statement against women. The Amir himself made that statement, and saying that no woman will ever be head of Jamaat-e-Islami. This is whatever he said, very derogatory, very, very derogatory indeed. So I think this has really turned away many people.
It rallies, it threatens Jamuna Ghirao. It clashes with BNP workers in places like Pabna. Pre-poll violence injures dozens. Power-sharing disputes fracture the old alliance. The referendum ultimately rides alongside election day, symbolically approved, politically overshadowed by BNP's sweep. Now the sensitive layer, minority rights. Within 1 week, amid anti-India protests, 2 Hindus, Deepu Chandra Das and Amrit Mondal, killed. Human rights groups flag intimidation, land disputes, silent displacement risks in border districts. Past cycles warn of minority vulnerability after regime changes. In 2001, post-election violence targeted Awami League supporters and minorities. Tarique Rahman now preaches unity. He forswears vengeance. He calls for control, not retribution. Words matter. Enforcement matters more. For India, minority safety in Bangladesh is not abstract. It shapes domestic political debate, refugee flows, border tensions, and bilateral trust. Now consider the border risk profile. Indian intelligence assessments cited in media describe concern not about mass infiltration, but selective infiltration. Ideologues, fund couriers, digital handlers. Fewer in number, harder to detect, higher impact. District-level political control alters incentives. National leaders sign cooperation agreements, but local police, administrators, and political patrons decide how strictly to enforce. If Jamaat MPs dominate border constituencies, their ideological ecosystem influences local tone even without executive power. That does not automatically mean security trouble. It does mean vigilance recalibrates. Shift to economics. Bangladesh's GDP rose from $71 billion in the year 2006 to $460 billion in the year 2022. Yet inflation bites. Youth unemployment stands at 13.5%. 2 million young Bangladeshis enter the workforce annually. Over 40 million live in extreme poverty. BNP campaigns on a family card policy, monthly cash for women and unemployed. Funding questions linger, foreign reserves strain, import restrictions hamper manufacturing. The taka weakens. Economic frustration fuels radical narratives if governance falters. Trade diplomacy shifts simultaneously. The United States initially imposes 37% tariffs, then reduces to 20%, then 19% after negotiations and market openings. Certain textile goods produced with American cotton enter tariff-free. Tarique Rahman signals openness to purchasing Boeing aircraft and US energy infrastructure to reduce trade deficits. Bangladesh seeks improved relations with both India and the US. India remains a critical neighbor and transit partner. Teesta water sharing remains unresolved. Transit rights, border management, connectivity corridors all remain on the table. Now the big strategic question: what does this mean for India? Under Hasina, India enjoyed close security cooperation. Dhaka acted against anti-India insurgent networks operating from Bangladeshi soil. Political intimacy defined the relationship. Hasina's ouster and relocation to India complicate optics. BNP seeks functional ties but rejects the perception of subordination. Tarique insists on Bangladesh first framing. For Delhi, a two-thirds BNP majority offers clarity, a single, strong counterpart. That is advantage. But Jamaat's entrenched presence in border belts injects complexity. That is risk. Will Jamaat create trouble? Trouble need not equal insurgency, it can mean agitation. Parliamentary obstruction, street mobilization, pressure on anti-corruption probes.
I think there are 3 or 4, as I see it, but I'm sure that future Prime Minister Tarique Rahman will decide his own priorities. But I think, first of all, if you talk of directly in the context of India, then I think that security red lines are very important. And they were important when I was there as High Commissioner, when Begum Khalida Zia was Prime Minister. But at that time, we didn't get much satisfaction on that. Under Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, she respected her security red lines. 15 years, no problem, Northeast, full peace and development. But in the last 18 months, again, the situation has deteriorated, and people talk that Paresh Barua is back in Dhaka and so on. So I think that this security aspect is very important. Yunus going to China and talking about Northeast India, then showing that map of Bangladesh. All these things are related to security aspects, perception about security aspects. This is the first group of issues for India that's the most important. And I think the second group of issues, which is, I think, important for both Bangladesh and India, is the economic issues. To restore the very good economic cooperation, trade and investment between Bangladesh and India. India has offered $8 billion in credit lines. Some of it has not been used yet, so they can there's a leeway to make new projects and new programs. And, the way in which in 18 months the Mohammed Yunus government put it across, breaking up the framework of the cooperation and putting so many things, so many decisions they took, executive decisions, which affected the trade. And the factories in Bangladesh couldn't get the things from India. The factories had to close down. They were not competitive anymore. Hundreds and thousands of women lost their jobs because of that. So I think this would be a very important factor.
Campaigns on Islamic identity, revival of referendum rhetoric. Jamaat already raises questions about election integrity. It signals readiness for continued political struggle. Its best ever opposition tally strengthens its voice. However, BNP's outright majority restricts Jamaat's executive leverage. Without cabinet seats, Jamaat influences through pressure, not policy. Internal BNP factionalism also matters. Zia loyalists versus reformists. Managing unity becomes Tarique's first domestic test. A divided ruling party creates openings for opposition escalation. Now zoom out to South Asia. Bangladesh stands at the intersection of India's northeast connectivity, Bay of Bengal maritime routes, and regional supply chains. Stability in Dhaka stabilizes corridors. Instability ripples outward. China's shadow lingers in infrastructure financing. Pakistan's historical ties with Islamist networks remain sensitive. The United States pushes trade recalibration under tariff pressure. In this chessboard, Bangladesh does not align fully with any one capital. It negotiates. Tarique's not Delhi, not Pindi line encapsulates that balancing act. For India, the path forward rests on 5 pillars. 1. Maintain robust border security cooperation at district levels regardless of local political color. Focus on professional enforcement, not partisan assumptions. 2. Accelerate economic interdependence. Trade binds where ideology divides. Connectivity projects reduce friction. 3. Resolve water disputes with urgency. Teesta remains symbolic and substantive. 4. Support minority rights through principled diplomacy, not megaphone politics that fuels nationalist backlash. 5. Avoid framing Bangladesh's domestic shifts as zero-sum geopolitical losses. Overreaction empowers radicals. Now return to minority rights. Tarique promises safety. He invokes inclusivity repeatedly, yet he avoids explicit condemnation of specific anti-Hindu arson incidents during speeches. That gap fuels skepticism. Minority communities will judge by arrests made, cases prosecuted, compensation delivered, and police protection ensured, not by rhetoric. Jamaat's moderated campaign tone does not erase 1971 memory, nor does it automatically predict 2026 outcomes. The test lies in behavior under opposition pressure. If Jamaat amplifies street mobilization in border districts, minorities may feel immediate impact. If BNP asserts rule of law firmly, minority confidence strengthens. The July National Charter hovers above all this. It promises electoral reform, anti-corruption tribunals, caretaker mechanisms, rights commissions, devolution. Non-binding but morally potent. Implementation requires two-thirds constitutional action. BNP holds numbers. Will it act or will it delay? Many call this unconstitutional. Jamaat can claim betrayal if reforms stall. Students who drove the uprising watch carefully. Disillusionment among youth risks fueling another wave of unrest if expectations collapse. Bangladesh stands at a crossroads. A strong mandate offers opportunity for decisive governance. A fractured political ecosystem offers risk of agitation. Border belts amplify stakes for India. Economic stress amplifies stakes for stability. So where does this land? Short-term, stability. BNP commands parliament, international recognition flows, diplomatic outreach begins. Medium-term, tension. Jamaat tests opposition muscle, border districts become narrative battlegrounds, minority incidents spark scrutiny, referendum promises resurface. Long-term, outcome depends on delivery. If Tarique Rahman enforces rule of law consistently, protects minorities visibly, advances charter reforms and manages foreign policy pragmatically, Bangladesh consolidates democracy. If factionalism, economic stagnation, or security lapses creep in, radical narratives gain oxygen. India cannot dictate Dhaka's politics. It can shape incentives, engage early, engage consistently, strengthen institutional ties beyond personalities. BNP's landslide closes one chapter but opens another. Jamaat's concession ends the vote but not the contest. Minorities await proof of protection. Delhi recalculates the frontier. South Asia adjusts to a new balance where a dominant BNP government coexists with a strategically positioned Islamist opposition. The ballot delivered clarity in numbers, it did not eliminate complexity in geography. The mandate stands firm. The map remains sensitive. The next moves decide whether 2026 marks the consolidation of a safe, inclusive Bangladesh or the quiet redrawing of fault lines along one of the world's most delicate borders. History offers caution. Bangladesh has experienced cycles of hope followed by disillusionment, yet it has also demonstrated remarkable economic dynamism and social resilience. The region stands at a hinge moment. A decisive mandate can either stabilize a nation still healing from uprising or concentrate power in ways that ignite new tensions. India recalibrates, minorities wait, youth demand delivery, opposition strategizes, the world watches. Bangladesh's future now rests less on election arithmetic and more on governance arithmetic. Justice plus growth plus inclusion plus restraint. If those variables align, the landslide becomes foundation. If they fracture, the map redraws itself once more. The story is not finished. It has only entered its governing phase. So where does this leave Bangladesh? And where does it leave the region? Will Tarique Rahman choose reconciliation over retribution? After 17 years in exile, does he see history as something to avenge or something to transcend? What about the opposition? Can Jamaat-e-Islami reinvent itself as a parliamentary force rather than a street mobilizer? Bangladesh stands at a hinge. Power has changed hands decisively. Thank you for watching Statecraft.